Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The Zoranith had watched the rise of countless empires across the galaxy. They were conquerors, masters of war, and they had seen civilizations born and wither in the blink of an eye. The Zoranith believed that, like all the others they had subdued, humanity would be a fleeting spark, a brief flash of resistance before being snuffed out by the weight of their superior technology and military might. The humans had no way of knowing what was coming. They had no way of preparing for the overwhelming assault of an advanced intergalactic war machine. Or so the Zoranith thought. The first wave of the invasion came as a brutal shock to the human race. The Zoranith dropped their warships into Earth's atmosphere with terrifying precision, sending shockwaves through the global population. They unleashed their weapons on major cities, wiping out communication hubs, military bases, and population centers with unrelenting force. It was a show of strength, a statement that no one on Earth could oppose them. It was the sort of strike the Zoranith had executed time and time again on other worlds, where resistance crumbled within days. Yet, this was not what happened on Earth. In fact, nothing went according to the Zoranith's carefully calculated plan. The first signs of humanity's resilience came in the form of scattered resistance. Soldiers, police, and civilians, people who had never thought of themselves as warriors, rallied together in the wake of the initial attack. They didn't have the advanced weapons or tech that the Zoranith possessed, but they were resourceful. They were human. The Zoranith's advanced drones and war machines wiped out human forces with ease, but the humans kept coming, refusing to be crushed under the weight of the invasion. There was something almost maddening in their refusal to give up, and their sheer willpower to fight. The Zoranith, who had been taught to expect submission, were left bewildered. In the places they thought they had conquered, there was a creeping sense of unease as human forces regrouped, learned, and struck back from the shadows. They adopted guerrilla tactics, using their knowledge of the land, their homes, and their cities to launch sneak attacks, sabotage supply chains, and gradually wear down the advanced alien forces. This wasn't supposed to happen. A particularly telling moment came when a group of civilians, trapped in the rubble of a city that had been decimated by a Zoranith bombardment, were presumed to be finished. The Zoranith had ordered the destruction of the area, expecting no survivors. But after a few days, a few Zoranith soldiers ventured in, cautiously inspecting the ruins, only to find that the humans had dug themselves out. They had not only survived, they had formed a makeshift resistance cell. Armed with nothing more than broken weapons and their will to survive, they had used the remains of Zoranith technology to construct rudimentary bombs, disrupt power grids, and even sabotage some of the alien invaders' machines. It was a turning point. The Zoranith had always believed that their superior technology would crush any opposition, and they had never encountered a species so unwilling to accept defeat. Even when they wiped out entire cities, the humans would find a way to rebuild, to reorganize, to fight on. They didn't just survive, they fought back. They adapted, and with every loss, they came back stronger. Where other species had crumbled in the face of similar invasions, the humans bent, but they did not break. It was as if their nature was fundamentally resistant to the idea of surrender. But it wasn't just their sheer tenacity that caught the Zoranith off guard. It was their intelligence. The humans were able to reverse engineer Zoranith technology, adapting it for their own use. The Zoranith had expected the humans to be helpless in the face of their advanced weaponry, but humanity's ingenuity shone through. One of the first instances that truly made the Zoranith wary came when a group of human engineers and scientists, armed with nothing more than salvaged alien technology and their own determination, managed to turn a captured Zoranith drone against its creators. Within weeks, human scientists had found ways to disarm Zoranith mines, repurpose energy weapons, and even reprogram enemy drones. Their adaptability in combat was far greater than anything the Zoranith had anticipated. In the midst of the chaos, one human soldier stood out: Sergeant Amelia Harris. A simple woman from a small town who had never been in combat before, she quickly became a symbol of the human resistance. When she and her unit were cut off from reinforcements in the middle of a Zoranith siege, they were forced to rely on every scrap of technology, every bit of training, and every ounce of resolve they had to stay alive. It was a fight for survival. There was no grand plan, no overwhelming force, just a small group of soldiers, desperate and resourceful, against an enemy that seemed unbeatable. Yet against all odds, they held their ground. When the Zoranith attacked again, confident that they had the upper hand, they found that the humans were waiting. A carefully timed counterattack, led by Harris, turned the tide. Her unit, small in number but unyielding in determination, fought back with surprising effectiveness. They used their knowledge of the terrain, the environment, and the few weapons they had to defeat the invaders, slowly pushing them back. The Zoranith were forced to retreat for the first time in the war. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had defeated a superior force through sheer will and cunning. As time went on, humanity's resistance grew. More civilians, engineers, and scientists joined the fight. Humans from all walks of life came together, forming new military units, creating supply chains, building weapons, and organizing counterattacks. The Zoranith were no longer facing scattered resistance, they were facing a united force. And the humans did not stop. Every time the Zoranith struck, the humans learned. They adapted. They found new ways to fight. They studied the Zoranith's weaknesses and exploited them. It was a war of attrition. The Zoranith tried every tactic they had: bombardment from space, elite forces on the ground, drones, advanced weaponry, but humanity's ability to recover and adapt was relentless. The more the Zoranith pushed, the harder the humans pushed back. Every loss was met with a new wave of resistance, every setback with renewed resolve. The Zoranith, who had been so confident of their victory, began to realize they were not dealing with a simple species, they were facing something far more dangerous. It wasn't just the military strength that terrified the Zoranith. It was the spirit of humanity. The humans weren't fighting for conquest or revenge. They were fighting for their survival. When one city fell, another would rise. When one battle was lost, more people would take up arms. Even when their families and homes were destroyed, the human spirit remained unbroken. It was a force the Zoranith had never seen before. It was not just strength, it was a will to fight that transcended logic, reason, or even the certainty of victory. Humans would fight not because they thought they could win, but because they simply could not stop. One of the most surprising events came when the humans launched their first space offensive. Using the scraps of Zoranith ships they had managed to reverse engineer, the humans developed their own rudimentary fleet. It wasn't much, a handful of patched-together ships with basic weaponry, but it was enough to inflict significant damage on the Zoranith's orbital command structures. The humans, using tactics that relied more on audacity than technical superiority, managed to destroy several key Zoranith vessels, crippling their ability to maintain their invasion force on Earth. The Zoranith began to realize that they had made a critical error. They had not understood humanity at all. They had been so certain of their superiority that they had failed to comprehend the one thing that made humans truly dangerous: their ability to keep going, no matter what. They didn't understand that the humans would not stop fighting until they were utterly destroyed. And in a way, that was the very thing that made humanity unbeatable. As the war dragged on, the Zoranith began to lose hope. They had invaded many worlds before, but never had they faced such an unyielding opponent. And despite their superior technology, despite their unmatched military might, they were losing ground. Humanity, for all its flaws and limitations, had one undeniable advantage: it would never give up. And as the Zoranith retreated, beaten and broken, they realized the truth. Humanity wasn't just strong in a physical sense, it was strong in its spirit. It was strong because it would always fight back, no matter how impossible the odds. The Zoranith, for all their power, had never fought an enemy that was so relentless, so determined. In the end, they had lost not because their technology failed, but because humanity refused to be defeated. As the last remnants of the Zoranith fleet retreated from Earth, the humans stood victorious. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. A species that had once been considered primitive had turned the tide against an invincible empire. The message sent to the stars was clear: humanity was not to be underestimated. Humans, in their rawest, most elemental form, were King strong. And anyone who doubted that would find out the hard way. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.